Hello, this is Dr. Grant Cooper with another office hours where we try to answer the questions you've been sending in. Thank you for those. This question was, how do I best prepare for a knee surgery that's coming up? This is a great question. It's one that I get asked a lot in the office as well. And it's really important because the biggest mistake that a lot of people make when they're going for a knee replacement or frankly, a hip replacement or any kind of musculoskeletal surgery is a lot of times people think, well, I'm going to get the surgery, so I'll just stop doing everything. I'll just wait for it to be fixed, and then I'll worry about it afterwards. And that is one of the worst things that you could do. The healthier and the stronger that you go into any type of orthopedic surgery, particularly a knee surgery, the better that you're going to come out of it, right? So the stronger you can make your legs, the better cardiovascular that you can get yourself before the surgery, the better and the easier time you're going to have on the back end. So work with your doctor to stay as healthy and active as you can within reason before the surgery, and after the surgery, your body will thank you for it. Thank you for your question, and please keep those questions coming. This question was, how does strengthening my core help me with my back pain? And this is a question that I get a lot in the office, especially in relation to, someone has a herniated disc and then they have a radiculopathy or sciatic pain. And maybe we've done an injection and now the inflammation is gone and the pain is gone, but the person has trouble understanding how exercising and getting their core strong in particular is going to help the inflammation from returning when the disc herniation is still going to be there, right? So why is it so important to strengthen your core when you have spinal issues? I think would be another way of restating the question. It's a great question, and it comes down to your spine is kind of like a mast on a ship. So if you've seen a mast on a ship, you know that there are all the riggings that attach to the mast, those are ropes that help to unload the mast, right? If the riggings aren't there, the mast falls over, it can't support its own weight. Well, the human spine, if you took it out of the body and you just put it on a table and you started putting an axial load, you start pushing down on it, it can support about 35 pounds of pressure. And then things will start to break. So we all weigh more than 35 pounds, right? No matter how thin you are, you weigh more than 35 pounds. So the way the human spine works is we have all of these muscles that attach to the spine that unload the spine, similar to those riggings unloading the mast. And we rely on those muscles to take the pressure off of the spine, which then helps take the pressure off the discs and all of the structures in the spine, right? Well, those muscles can either do a good job of unloading the spine, or they can do a less good job, right? They can do a bad job. Gravity's coming down through the spine no matter what you do. So gravity's coming, the spine can't get out of the way, and your muscles can either help unload the spine and protect the structures in the spine that are vulnerable, or they can do a less good job of that, in which case there's going to be a lot more stress, a lot more pressure going through those parts of the spine, which will then tend to lead to a recurrence or an exacerbation of the inflammation that was causing the pain in the first place. So by getting the muscles strong in the right way, by integrating the pelvic muscles with the core, by making sure things like the iliopsoas, those strong hip flexors are not too tight, so they're not pulling on the spine, all of those things, by getting all of those muscles as good as you can to help unload the spine, it'll help protect the spine into the future. And that's, in a nuts and bolts way, that's why not just strengthening the core, not just doing lots of sit-ups, but strengthening it in the right way, bringing in and integrating the muscles in the right way and making sure they're not too tight and they're integrated properly. It's really going to protect your spine into the future. Thank you so much for the question. It's a really important one. And it's really important for all of us to remember why it's so important that we keep our core nice and strong and integrated, and that we get out there and we actually do it. This one was, could my neck pain be coming from the whiplash injury that I had? It's paraphrasing a little bit, but we get this question a lot about whiplash injuries. It is, first of all, what is a whiplash injury, right? Usually people think of it in terms of like a car accident. It's basically where your head gets thrown back and your neck muscles don't have a chance to protect your spine because the injury happens too fast. Your neck goes back and there's a lot of stress going through the cervical spine as a result. Whiplash injuries are one of the more common causes of chronic neck pain. in fact, after a whiplash injury, sometimes there'll be some neck pain, but then years later, neck pain will result again. It's always hard to say, is that a direct result of the whiplash injury or not? It certainly doesn't help. Epidemiologically, what we know is that after a whiplash injury, people are much more likely to develop pain in the facet joints in the cervical spine. The facet joints are those little hinge joints in the back of the spine. And when you suffer a whiplash injury where your head gets snapped back, which can happen, by the way, in football, in all kinds of sports as well. It doesn't have to be a car accident. When that happens, the muscles don't have a chance to protect the spine. The spine gets pushed backwards, and those joints get really irritated, and the cartilage inside can become inflamed. When people have chronic neck pain and there's been a history of a whiplash injury at any point in the person's life, the epidemiology of the pain coming from the facet joint is something like 80%. So having a whiplash injury is a very common cause of chronic neck pain. When that's the cause, it's usually the pain in the neck is actually usually coming from the facet joints themselves. Fortunately, we have very good treatments for facet joint pain and for all sorts of chronic neck pain problems. For that, I'll refer you to our video on facet joint pain explained. But thank you so much for the question. It's a very common question. It's an important one. This question was about how does somebody with facet joint pain in their neck develop full range of motion safely when they're going through a problem with facet joint pain? It's a great question. I think you could extrapolate that, and I think that a similar answer would be for all sorts of kinds of neck pain, including degenerative disc disease. It really comes down to getting the inflammation to go away so that the pain is gone, and then working on gradually, working on the range of motion. And the exercises that you're doing with presumably your therapy exercises, or you could also do the exercises that we have on neck pain exercises through the YouTube channel. But basically, you want to make sure that the range of motion exercises you're doing are pain-free. They really shouldn't be painful. You can feel the stretch, obviously, but you should be able to rehab a neck back to full range of motion after an injury, like facet joint pain. Similar if it was your disc that was causing the pain as well. You want to take it gradual. You don't want to force anything, but it should be coming over time. If it's not, then I think that's an indication that presumably the inflammation is still there. And one of the things that happens when there's inflammation around the joints or any other structure in the spine is the muscles will tend to tighten up because they're trying to protect you. That's why also, a hot shower usually feels good, a hot bath, a massage, if you're in therapy, some stim, all of that tends to feel good because it lets the muscles relax. If there's still inflammation in the spine, then what happens is 20 minutes, a half hour later, those muscles start to tighten up again because they're trying to protect you again. So they're still reacting to the underlying inflammation. So one of the things that can get in the way of getting full range of motion back is if there's still inflammation, then those muscles will still be guarding. So you just want to make sure you get the inflammation better, and then you gradually work on improving the range of motion. And you should expect that you should be able to get full range of motion back. The other piece of the question that was asked was, is this going to be a permanent problem when someone has facet joint pain? Are you always going to have to be thinking about rehabbing the neck in that situation? And that's also, it's a really common question. It's a really important and a really good question. And the way that I like to tell people when they have any kind of musculoskeletal problem, particularly in the spine, if you have back or neck pain and you get it better and you get the full range of motion back, the way to think of that is that if you then forget about it and pretend like it never happened, and the glass half empty is that you're going to be much more likely for those things to happen in the future. Just epidemiologically, that's going to be true. On the other hand, if you take that as a bit of an inflection point, you take that injury as an inflection point, you rehab it, and then you learn, let's say 5 minutes or 10 minutes of exercises devoted to that part of the spine, then you're probably going to be less likely than your age cohort to have spine issues in the future. Which is to say that most people are going to develop some kind of neck pain at some point. Most of those people could probably prevent it if they were doing some exercises to stretch and strengthen and protect their spine. But we're human and most people don't do that. So, but if you learn the exercises after an injury and you do those exercises moving forward, again, we're only talking about 5 or 10 minutes of exercises, then you're probably going to be less likely than other people who never had an injury to have pain in the future. So that's also my little pep talk to say, try to learn a good set of exercises, marry those exercises just like you brush your teeth, and your future self will definitely thank you for it. Thank you so much for the question. Please keep those questions coming, and we will see you in the next one.